Beware Romulans bearing gifts.
Hi, this is Eric,
And this is Carl.
and welcome back to Romulans Bearing Gifts. Woo! Episode 56. Woo! We're back, and there's a lot to get to. But real quick, I was, I watch a lot of YouTube on the shows that I'm into and things like that, and every now and then, I don't do it all the time, but I go down the road into like the dark web of Star Trek or Star Wars.
Oh, not the conspiracies, not the conspiracy casts.
I'm not saying conspiracy podcast, but just the conspiracy information. Yes,
That's what I'm talking about. Yeah.
or into the conspiracy community.
Mhm.
And take what I'm about to say with a grain of salt, because I had delved into the Star Trek dark web back in the early days of Discovery, and they kind of led me wrong. But that's okay. Take it with a grain of salt. So obviously, in last episode of the podcast, Carl was talking about just this contrast in the writing, the character development, the Kurtzman Trek, what we're used to, and then kind of like having this like real tonal shift. And I brought this up like in episode 2 or something too, where I just thought, man, how could this be so different from season 2, especially when they were shot like back to back, like the cast and crew like went home Friday, came back Monday and started shooting season 3. You know what I mean? Like there was no in between time. How could they be so tonally different? And aside from probably obviously all the budget being saved up for season 3 versus season 2, that's one part of it. But if you go into the dark web these days, those guys with the tinfoil hats, they are saying that they believe that Paramount, or whoever the parent company is these days, is trying to cut ties with Kurtzman as it pertains to Trek. Again, none of this is confirmed, and they think that, or they believe that, like Terry Matalas, who's been like the most significant executive producer on this Picard series recently, even although he joined the show with season 2, so he was already there, supposedly higher ups at Paramount, with this idea of pulling back away from Kurtzman, supposedly allowed Matalas to have more executive control in season 3 in particular. Now, again, this could all just be fan service theory crafting, what I'm talking about.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm interested. I'm curious, because I definitely think I didn't know who Terry Matalas was 3 months ago, but I've looked into him now. I've seen him in some interviews talking about Star Trek. I mentioned how he was an extra in All Good Things, playing like a no-name ensign in the background. He was Brandon Braga's like assistant starting in the Voyager days. He wrote some episodes for like Voyager, and especially in Enterprise. He was even more like involved in the production of that. So he's a Star Trek guy, obviously.
Nice.
And I really think all the good things coming out in Picard season 3, including like the bevy of Easter eggs, which we don't even get into. I mean, I dropped some here and there, but there's way more Easter eggs in these Picard episodes, especially season 3, if you really want to get into it. And I feel like a lot of this all revolves around Terry Matalas. I think he's the savior now. I think he's the Dave Filoni currently of Star Trek, to be honest. So we'll see. We'll see what's going on. But I really think like I said, when I've seen him in interviews, recent interviews, he comes across as like Filoni. I mean, you can just tell like the way he bleeds like passion for this Star Trek world. And I really think a lot of things that they shifted in season 3, like bringing back more the militariness, and like the Boss Wayne whistle, and all these little things that we were used to, like in TOS movie Trek and things like that. I think it's Terry Matalas. I think it's his involvement that is causing things to feel familiar. So there you go.
Well, there is clearly a distinctive shift, and these production companies that seem to think putting people in charge of legacy shows that have no connection with the shows, that don't have, that don't, that I never even watched Star Wars, but I'm in charge of it now for the next 3 movies. Why do they do that? I mean, there's a respected history that the fans love and know about the shows, and rarely anybody that you put in charge of the show going to have that same depth of knowledge that the fans do. But you at least want them to have some kind of connection, some kind of joy and enthusiasm for the material. Um and they keep making this decision to put these managers in charge that don't have that connection, and then they wonder why the shows don't resonate with the fans. So if that's what's happened here, that they put a fan in charge, you can clearly feel the difference. And particularly with Picard, there is a history that you've got to respect. There is a consistency of character that you've got to preserve. You can tell whatever story you want, but they have to be the crew that we knew. So, hey, if that's what has occurred here, it's refreshing. It's probably the better plan. Better plan.
Yeah, and looks like Terry Matalas himself directed the final 2 episodes of the season, so I'm real curious about that. And he wrote the very first episode, and he wrote the episode 10 as well. So
All right.
real curious. And also, once you know his name's Terry Matalas, going back to Voyager days onward, um, the Matalas system has been brought up so many times, and it was always because of him. I don't think he did it himself, but they started naming many systems Matalas after him, to where it makes no sense. Because there's Matalas all over the place apparently, in the Star Trek universe, and it was so funny, because one of the episodes that Caleb selected for a future RBG, I just watched it today, and they were like, yes, they come from the Matalas system. And I was like, holy shit. Here it is. It's right here. Here it is. They literally said it. Okay. But yeah, it's a funny thing. But anyway, woo! Let's get on to it. I know everyone's like, shut up already. We want you to talk about episode 5. For goodness sake. Imposters. Holy smokes. Okay. How are we going to do this? Okay. Man, what is going on? So now here's our new mystery. I wanted to know who's behind all this. We kind of learned it's changelings for the most part, at least up to this point. But now we have a new mystery, which is this episode opens with Jack having a more in-depth hallucination, or I don't know what it is, actually. I don't know what these things are that's happening. But we think we're on the bridge and everything's hunky-dory. I'm very curious now on the backstory of the helmswoman with the shaven head. She looks like an interesting alien species. But anyway, and everything seems copacetic. And then Jack's eyes go red. I don't know what that means. And he just murders everyone. And yeah, cue opening credits.
Yeah. Yeah, and is it is it real or is it not? Well, we see that he wakes up from this illusion, and it's clearly not real, but he's got the phaser in his hand. So whatever it is motivating him in the real world to maybe do things that he doesn't want to do. So you keep hearing him say, I don't want to be in Starfleet. I don't want to be in Starfleet. No, I don't want to be around Starfleet. We are assuming it is because he doesn't like the ritual or the rigor or all of the pomp
Right.
of what it, but it might be because he senses some kind of a reaction whenever he's around Starfleet officers and other people. Maybe he's trying to restrain a reflex that he is having.
And you mean subconsciously or consciously?
Well, I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know if he realizes it or not, but I think he has a sensitivity to Starfleet, and he may not know why.
Okay. Yeah, yeah,
You
okay.
know, we are under the impression it is because he's a rebel, he's a rogue. Why would he become a part of an organization like Starfleet? After all, right? Picard has on numerous occasions tried to recruit him or said, "Oh, why don't you join Starfleet?" And listen to what? No, 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 no. I'm not going to join Starfleet. Well, maybe there's more to his resistance to it than just because he's a bad boy and doesn't want to be in uniform. So
Yeah, and let me say something about that scene, that little bit where Jack and Picard are just walking in the corridor, and Picard is just like, many a rebel has found a place, and you already know where Jack's mind is going, and you can like sense he's just like, okay, no, like don't even try it, just because we had a bonding moment,
mhm.
and I just want to bring the scene up just for a moment, just because that one hit a little home for me because it just reminded me of 1,000 conversations like with my mother where she'll just be like, if I'm just like, my reaction is always like Jack. I'm just like, ugh. Like I want to tell my mother in those instances, I am so set in my ways as it pertains to XYZ. Like,
Mhm.
no, I don't even know why you're trying for the 100th time to convince me like of this alternate course of action in this particular situation. Just saying, I hit a little home with that little interaction because I could, man, I know Jack's feelings like so well for that moment. But just prior to that moment in the episode, you know, Captain Shaw, I love him. Uh, he's kind of gleeful at the beginning of this episode because in his mind, we just had the season finale, and this is just like the epilogue. And he's kind of gleeful because I guess, in his mind, thank goodness the nightmare is over. Like
Yep.
we're getting out of this. And I love it. I mean, I
He's
love it.
not only is the nightmare over, but now they're gonna get what's coming to them because they're always causing trouble, and now everything can go back to normal. So yes, he's whistling right he's
It's
just so happy that everything is gonna go back.
it's so great. And yes, he's bonded a little bit with them after previous situations. So although he is happy, they're about to get the book thrown at him. Yeah, he's like, hey, go ahead. Confab, get your story straight, whatever. I don't really care, but it's good stuff.
Yep, yep. You love to hate him.
Okay. It had to happen, but we had to catch up with Raffi and Worf. And I know other um, fans and reactors to Picard and Star Trek love this pairing. Like this, like it's like the old '80s like cop duo who are like opposites. Like I get it. I mean, okay, like odd couple cop duo, but I don't feel like Raffi's Ying is up to speed with Worf's Yang. Like she's not on his level. I mean, obviously not. I mean, but in her own opposite way, I don't think she's on his level. and so I don't find them as like they're not Moriarty and Sherlock. You know, they're not. They're young Sherlock and elder Moriarty or something. Like they're not on the same level, and so like when they're training, and then when they start verbally going back and forth, you know, like Raffi needs to respect Worf just a little bit more for my taste.
Yeah.
Like, you know, he's trying to tell her to, you know, like chill out, stop being so impulsive. We already know that's her pattern as a character, as established a million times over. And then all she can say is, "Can you stop poking holes in my ship?" And I get it. It's funny, but I don't feel like her character has earned that kind of swagger.
Well, you know, her disrespectful to the characters we love is kind of the thing she's rolling with. You know, nobody calls Jean-Luc Picard JL. That doesn't even that's not even a smooth. You know, most of the time when you come up with nicknames, you know, JR or you know J or something, that's got some flow. It's got some rhythm to it. JL does not flow, and that she keeps calling our favorite captain, you know, JL with all of the authority and history that he has. I know what they're trying to do. You know, they're trying to show us a closeness that she has, and her informal, you know, swagger is supposed to be just, you know, bonding us. But it's not. You know, we love these characters, and for her to be, you know, acting the way she does around Worf and being so casual with Picard, it just, you know, she keeps coming at it in a way that is a little challenging to the fans. So
Yeah, and you know, in last episode you were talking about some of the great character development and arcing for like Picard's character in this season and Riker, et cetera, et cetera. And even Shaw, a new character, is having a nice, interesting arc.
and Jack.
And Jack, yes, and Jack, for sure. Now with Raffi, as far as I can suss out her arc at this point, I mean, I guess yes, she's improved, quote unquote, from season 1 and 2. But as far as I can tell, though, the only real improvement that she's displayed up to this point is that she has found confidence. Okay, but that seems about it, because she has not developed in the other ways, like I said, in like judgment, discernment, like reading a room, planning ahead, like she has not developed in that way. So she just has this confidence. But okay, that's okay, but not on its own.
What I also thought was going to be a simple arc that they were going to overlay on her this season was the drug addiction thing.
Oh yeah,
I thought, you know, that all throughout this season she's going to be fiending for the drug that she you know, improperly took at the beginning. I've seen no evidence of that either. You know, I don't see her going back. I mean, maybe it'll.
Oh, I'm actually glad we're not.
Well, that would have been too simple, and I too am glad. But I'm just going. Well, you know, she's supposed to be growing somewhere, right? You know, aren't we supposed to be seeing some evolution of her character? And I have not seen that evolution yet. So, yeah, okay, well, yeah.
Yeah, she's just got the confidence, and on its own, it almost makes her that much more cloying, because she has that. Again, I don't want to sound like I'm disrespecting this fictional character, but this like undeserved confidence or this bravado that you're still writing checks that you can't cash.
Mm-hmm.
That's all I'm saying.
Yeah.
But okay, so
they're on the hunt. They're on the hunt.
Yeah, because so they realized that, or kind of had this theory already. They did, or she did, that you know, it wasn't really about the whole portal gun technology. That was perhaps more a distraction from what the changelings or whoever or whomever or gangsters, it was the changelings, I think, were taking from the Damestrom Institute or the Damestrom Station, which is, I guess, two different geographical locations. And so what is it? And it's like, well, I don't know. There's no way to know unless we go to the Daystrom Station. But but it has this crazy AI security system. And so there's no possible way we can infiltrate it unless we do what the changelings did. Well, what did the changelings do? They were able to get this key from Sneed, or someone working with Sneed. So, okay, we're going to go back to, I don't remember the name of the planet, the Blade Runner planet. And, okay, Sneed's dead, but maybe one of his other associates might be able to help us. So, yeah, they go back to the planet, and
they're the alphas now. Everybody's afraid.
Right.
They're scurrying, and then these two just bust in the middle of the town, and everybody's like, "Oh, last time they showed up, somebody lost his head. We're out of here." So they're trying to stir up the hornet's nest a bit to attract some attention.
Yes, and we'll get back to them in a second, because we jump back over to the Titan, and we meet a really sexy looking ship, in my opinion. I don't know what Carl thinks, but this is the USS Intrepid.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think this is a hot little ship. What do you think?
It's a cool design. But more importantly, it fulfills an important job. The important job that the Intrepid fulfills is it can't look too much like the Titan. So when we have space battles or there's chases and things going on in space, it has to have a profile that is easily recognizable relative to our hero ship. Think about the Enterprise A versus the Enterprise versus the Reliant.
Right.
Back in Wrath of Khan, they had to have a very distinctive difference in profile so that the viewers could tell the difference between. Well, they did. They pulled it off. They managed to keep it looking Starfleet, yet give it a decidedly different profile, so we can tell the difference between the ships. So yeah, it was a bold choice. Bold choice.
Yeah, the ship design is loosely based upon a FASA ship design from the FASA role playing game. And there was a ship nicknamed the Wasp in the ship compendium. I had it back in the day. I wish I still had it, because it's going for like $100 on eBay right now, but at a minimum. But anyway, so it was loosely based upon a cool FASTA design. And it's interesting what you just said about the function of being able to tell a difference, because I hadn't thought about that, but you bring up a great point with reference to Wrath of Khan. That being said, and it definitely has a distinct look, because obviously the secondary hull is very unique, which is kind of cool. But that being said, it is funny, though, when I think about this point of distinction, that even though it is a very unique looking ship, it's funny how both the Titan and the Intrepid still kind of resemble the classic Enterprise kind of motif.
They have a retro, I think they call it Constitution class look about them. They do look retro. They do not have the slim flying turtle, modern Trek, I say modern with the air quotes, of, Enterprise D, of Voyager. They have a retro, a throwback Constitution look to them. Yep.
And I think it was mentioned somewhere in a almost throwaway line in season 3 that they were these ships were made from they were reused parts that have been repurposed to make newer ships.
So I too have been looking at what the fans have been saying online, and what the fan justification of this is remember the androids destroyed the Utopia station where they build the ships, Utopia Planitia, and so they have been cobbling together new ships, but with the pieces of the old ones.
Yes.
So that's what they're saying. I don't know.
I hadn't heard that theory, but I like it a lot.
Doesn't it make sense, right? It does make sense. I mean,
I like that. I like that because I believe it in the episode, in some episode somewhere, they do mention recycled parts, but I don't think I don't know if they explain it.
Yeah, yeah.
And I love that explanation because otherwise I was scratching my own head wondering like,
why the retro? Why
yeah,
so
yeah,
much of
yeah.
it going back? Because it does not look like forward the designs that we know. So that's what the fans are saying, and I'll take it. I'll take it. But look,
Yeah, that's
I'm just so happy to see them respecting ships again. I'm just so happy to see this. Them loving ships this way. So hey, whatever it took.
and I love looking at of the Intrepid. I almost wish it was the hero ship right now in the show. I almost wish the Intrepid was the Titan.
It's pretty.
Um,
It's pretty.
yeah, it's the sexiest new ship I think I've seen in a long time in Star Trek.
Right.
So yeah, kudos to that.
Yeah.
And so uh, again, Picard and company are waiting for. I don't know why I want to call him like an Inquisitor or someone.
Yeah. Shaw's thrilled because here we go. They're finally gonna face the music. And this is gonna be the big time that we've gotta that they're gonna pay for all of the years and arrogance.
So they meet their Inquisitor in this corridor, which I'm telling you, man, they are getting their use out of the sets. And I was going to bring this up at some point. I'll go ahead and bring it up now because we mentioned 10 Forward, LA. It's funny, like 10 Forward should almost be like Hard Rock Cafe because this shirt would say Los Angeles on the bottom under 10 Forward. Anyway, so they're really getting their money worth with that set that was already used, obviously, in season 2. And they're really getting their uses out of this one major corridor. And in a funny way, I almost feel like this is a callback to 90s TV Trek and the 80s and 90s movies, especially the TOS ones, of this idea of reusing what you got over and over and over.
Yeah.
Because when we got Discovery and then we got Strange New Worlds, like no, it would be like everything was new. I mean, like new, like we've never seen this bridge before on the Shenzhou or whatever, and then the Discovery and new set. Oh, a new part of Discovery, the ship that we've never seen, like an interior. But this almost feels like again classic throwback that they are using these sets.
So no, I agree. It's got the whole Hanna-Barbera throwback. The background just keeps the same background, goes past it again and again.
And of course, the other one is Doctor Who. But I'll mention that again in another episode of the podcast. But anyway, so all right, we've been stalling long enough. It's just here they are. Here's your Inquisitor, or whatever you want to call him. And then I don't know what to say other than talk about a face I never, ever, ever expected to see again. In Star Trek, I almost thought I was watching a new BSG spinoff miniseries. Oh my gosh. And how many times have I said this? Even before Picard season 3. Like, I want to see Rolaren.
We all did. We all miss Ro. We all miss Ro. She was such a shockingly bold and contrary character to everyone that was Star Trek Next Gen at the time. Everybody was getting along. Everybody was all happy and kumbaya. And then they dropped the bomb of Ro in there. And then to have her character, reject Starfleet, reject the Picard that we like. She was such a bold and it went so much against the grain of what Next Generation was at the time. She's impossible to forget. Of course, she is who Kira was based on. If she had come back, she would have been Kira in DS9. So her character has been pivotal for the history of modern Star Trek, and we all missed her as fans. So everybody jumped up. I was cheering when I saw Ro come around that corner because we have wanted to know her story this whole time, and to get it, all right, that's what I'm talking about. This is how you do it. This is how you do it.
Definitely happy like you, but I just this never would have been on my bingo card, like of actually happening.
True. That's what made it so sweet. I was not expecting this. I was not, thinking that this was going to be in here. I don't recall anyone leaking anything about
Yes,
this.
that's the other. Yeah, there was no leaks.
Mhm.
There was nothing. No one said. Not a hint. Not a hint. It's certainly not in the ridiculous trailer. It just came out of nowhere.
Wonderful, wonderful. And once again, um, we got some pain. I mean, we know the tension between Picard and Ro, but it's also echoed in the fans. The fans like, why did you leave? Where you abandoned us because you were a character that we were so excited about, and you just walked away from Star Trek. The fans' hearts were broken, and so to play on that and to have it line up with what's going on in the episode, it's really a powerful thing. So yeah,
Wow, I had not thought of that angle. That is really that.
it's
Wow,
it's it's pulling at heartstrings. Again, this is what I'm talking about. This
that's
season,
cool. I didn't think about that.
this season, they are multi-dimensional in what they are doing. And yeah, fans are hurt. They're, we want to know. We want to know. And she gives it to us in this episode. She gives it to why she turned on Starfleet, why she didn't come back. The once again, this is what I'm talking about. We expect heightened emotions with modern Kurtzman type Trek. There's always going to be conflict in a way that is even beyond what you would normally expect as necessary for character development. That's just how he rolls. That's how this modern Trek has gone. And I am not certain they have executed it well. But look at this. Look at what they have done here. This is 30-year history tension between well-known characters that we know, a legitimate gripe that they had. I mean, literally, she, blew up half a ship. I mean, in Next Gen, right? Back in the day, she blew up half a ship, took off, killed Starfleet officers, and, she really just messed everything up. So there's some real pain there. So what we see Picard experiencing is not some, you know, character that they manufactured and in 5 minutes tried to make us feel this way about her. We are leveraging historical pain from her, legitimate, not manufactured. This is a legitimate problem that these two have had all along. This is interesting. This makes sense. And then, and I'm jumping ahead a little bit,
Go ahead.
but then the heightened emotion that is so typical of the modern Treks, that it has become a hallmark and in some ways a detriment to story with modern Trek. They call it out and justify the validation that they are not changelings because of the emotion that they're experiencing this moment. I mean, that is some meta, handling of some stuff right there. Just to say, this heightened emotion that we are having, legitimate in this case, resonant for the characters and for the fans. They're on the edge, pushing all this, and oh, by the way, this pain actually is useful, because if you were a changeling and I was a changeling, we would not be at this level. This would not be happening because it's just beyond that. That's how you do it. That is how you do it. So, I mean, it was so great to see Ro back. And the initial anger, once again, from Picard's arrogant classic point of view, and Rose seeing a different point of view, the anger that they have for each other, it is poetic. And it works. It works in the moment. It works on the reveal. It works in this scene in unexpected ways because the fans want to know. We want to know. Picard wants to know. Ro is finally getting her chance to say her side of the story. It really was a remarkable moment with a classic character, and they handled it so well here. It was awesome. It was awesome to see these two.
I love how you put it together. Let me backtrack a little bit in the timeline and fill in some things. Picard has a request before the Inquisitor shows up. I think he gave Seven this task. Doesn't matter, but he wants to kind of like hide like Jack's identity, on the ship while the investigators are around, and so Beverly, gives him a tunic, a uniform, and I mean him donning the uniform, even though it is meant as camouflage, it does seem like Jack as a character, like a caterpillar. It seems like him getting it to this stage of at least just even wearing the uniform. It almost seems like he is going into his like cocoon stage, metaphorically, of transformation. And I want to say this style of uniform, the particular one that he's given, it's the style that it seems to be that commanders and under wear. Well, some
You're talking about the color of it, right?
no, the style of it,
Okay.
the style like of the actual tunic itself. Because none of the captains I've seen, I don't think, have worn it. But some commanders and certainly junior officers are wearing this particular. It's the same one that Seven's wearing throughout. I really like this particular iteration of TNG era Starfleet uniforms. I think it might be my favorite currently. If I could pick anything from the TNG series to now, of this timeline, obviously. I mean, the TNG timeline. I like it. And let me tell you why I like it. Because while it does look obviously very similar to the ones we know and love from TNG, Voyager, etc., while it's reminiscent of those, I love the flap on the front.
Yeah, the fold over.
Yes, the fold. That's what does it for me. Because again, that obviously feels so TOS movie era. And I think putting the flap and combining it with the TNG aesthetic, chef's kiss for me. I think that's my favorite uniform. Now, like Riker and Picard and even Ro, they're wearing like a different style. I'm neither here nor there with the style, but I love that one though. The one with the fold over. I think it's amazing. I just wanted to bring that up.
Okay, yeah. They have been doing interesting things with Starfleet uniforms over these modern series. Some stuff I like, some stuff I don't.
Yeah, Raffi, when we haven't seen it yet, but when she dons her uniform garb in this season, I guess she goes to the Miller's Outpost rack for her Starfleet gear. But anyway, we'll talk about that another day. Okay, and also filling in some of the things with this Ro interaction, it's perfect that having this really unexpected character show up. And then we have this little bit that's happening concurrent where Beverly's over there in medical and they're examining the corpse of the fake LaForge Jr. Or the changeling LaForge Jr. And Beverly makes this discovery. Oh my gosh, they are able to mimic like actual organs, etc. So they could pass, these changelings could pass the standard Starfleet's like medical screenings that have been established post Dominion War, and so then she sends Picard a text message, and it's perfect because Ro is so unexpected, and it's just suspicious just that she could even be there. I mean, as a fan, but also in universe, it's the perfect setup to make you question everything.
Yep.
Like is this really Ro? Like, this is unbelievable, inconceivable.
That
Like,
was the other dimension of this that you're absolutely right. I had forgotten about that. I mean, we have the historical pain between these two, but at the same time, is it really her? And technically, once again, we are forced to see things from Ro's perspective during this entire dialogue because she doesn't know if he's real.
yes, exactly. I mean, I realized that on rewatching the episode. I didn't think about it the first time, but upon repeat, oh yeah, she knows she's real, but it makes sense, right? Because
Everybody's compromised around her. Everybody,
Picard and Riker have just done all these treasonous acts. Doesn't that smell like changeling activity? They stole a starship.
Yep.
They're changelings. Yeah, I didn't realize that until repeat viewing.
Yep. Yeah. Beautiful tension between them. So, I mean, it was just magical, really, what went down between those two. There's so much in and out of the story that made that interaction meaningful. And of course, never mind the fact that they're trying to, figure out where each other are. I mean, there's the tension of, is he going to get court-martialed or not? There's the tension of, oh, it's Ro, and there's the bad blood. There's the tension of, is she real or not? There's the tension of the genuine heartbreak that they express toward each other because they did care for each other in a way that we see is more than just professional. I'm not saying they were in love, but I think he probably saw her like a daughter at the time, and that's kind of the way she felt back in that time. There's the only person at the time when Picard was being all crotchety, didn't even like Wesley, loved Ro, so to have that in their past, and now here they are after all of these years.
Yeah, she was like his rescue.
Yeah.
Like that. And then to further this subterfuge for the viewing audience of this, oh, she obviously seems like a changeling. So once again, let's get our use out of the 10 forward set. But it makes sense in the story because, she wants like some sort of like privacy or whatever, like away from prying eyes. But again, that still plays into the subterfuge because that's exactly what a changeling would want to do.
Sure.
Is to get away from her escorts and just have her one-on-one time so she can like torture Picard or who knows what.
Or maybe even take him over, she's got a friend that's going to become Picard in there. There's all kinds of stuff that could have gone wrong.
So it all just works. It continues to work. And then, like you already said, we have the heart-to-heart. And it's amazing that that's the key to, like, solving everything. And I'm watching the scene on screen. Let me mention the phasers for a second, the hand phasers. Again, I want to say Terry Metalis. Couldn't be Kurtzman. If you notice the hand phasers that we've seen throughout this season, some of them are, like, updated looking versions of the Wrath of Khan hand phasers, and then others look more like the Undiscovered Country, but like a little bit updated.
Don't forget the one that that Jack has in his hallucination looks like original series update. It's got the little nipple on it.
Yeah. And so it's weird, interesting attention to detail, but like again, it's like retro, modern, and like if you know Wrath of Khan like I do, you know that those phasers are very unique. The one that Terrell uses to take himself out.
Yep.
And to see a phaser when Ro and Picard are having their face off over the bar, they have like the Neo Wrath of Khan phasers at that point. You would never think to see some kind of like callback to that. Not in a million years.
They are traversing the eras of phasers in this every episode. It's which movie is it going to be from? Which one is it in? Yeah. It's amazing.
It's great. Now, okay, let's get back. I need to learn the name of this gangster planet. But let's get back with Raffi and Worf because I actually have a positive thing to say, at least from my point of view. And man, talk about actors we never thought to see again. And especially jumping to Star Trek, we have this very interesting Vulcan gangster who comes in.
And again, how it just sounds funny saying it, right? Vulcan gangster. He's rocking an Idic necklace. Like
Yes.
the gangsters got to have their jewelry. He's got a big Idic on him. I mean, that is and tats under his eye. That is the
Yeah,
gangster.
he's so cool. Those are one of those tats that when you're playing like a modern video game and you can customize your character.
Yeah.
I never put those tats on my character's face. I never do that, but they did in this one.
It's something in Kling. In something in Vulcan. It's because you can always tell Vulcan. It's got the line and then the curly swirls along the line.
Oh.
So it's Vulcan script down under his eye. I don't know what it says.
Oh, I didn't know that. I didn't know that. About
Yeah. It's Vulcan script. So
That's
he's
cool.
gangster. It probably says love and peace. It's just love and peace. And Vulcan under there.
But I love the concept. He should almost have, but it would be too much. Almost a mustache because he's almost like a Mirrorverse Vulcan in a way.
Yeah.
But that would be too on the nose or under the nose if we had a mustache. But that's not even the highlight. Even though I think this is super cool, I think the concept is super cool. But besides that, I'm talking about the actor.
Okay. All right. Yeah.
Man, I'm like, old boy from Fringe. And many other things.
Oh, that's where he's from. I knew he was familiar, friend.
Yes, he's Charlie.
Yes. Wow.
I was so happy to see him because all I was thinking was Fringe and Sci-Fi Party Line circa 2009, 2010.
Wow. That is right.
So this was just like another. I mean, he's not Ro Lauren, but I was just like, oh man, look at that.
Wow. I didn't realize. Thanks for putting that together. Yeah, good old friend.
Oh, I thought you did. I thought you knew where I was going.
No, I didn't realize. Now I see.
See,
wow.
The only way they could top this appearance is if they get the Duchess Jessup.
Thank you. You got to bring Jessup back.
That's the only way. If they put her in Star Trek, that's it. I'm done.
My favorite series. That'd be my favorite series.
Oh, those are the days, though. When Abrams was sort of making good stuff.
It just means we had good taste. That's all I'm saying. It just means we saw it coming.
But the actor Kirk Acevedo, he's been in a bunch of things, and actually, again, this is Metalis, man. This is Metalis because Metalis was the showrunner for the 12 Monkeys series, and one by one, he's been bringing in all the principles from that series. That's where Shaw came from, the actor. Sneed was the protagonist. I mean, the actor was the protagonist in 12 Monkeys. Acevedo was in that series. So the only one really missing now, or significantly, is I can't remember the female character, the primary female character in 12 Monkeys. I wonder if she'll show up in the next in the remaining episodes because Metalis is bringing in all his buddies, and I'm all here for it. Let me just tell you,
it's a good crew. It's a good crew.
Hell yeah. So and this Vulcan is great. To me, it makes sense. To me, it is logical, and I know he gets some little thing about without you have to have a criminal element to have utopia. That's not even my thinking. My thinking is just that it's logical to exploit a situation if you find an angle. Like, to be moral, in character, I don't know if that's really logical. I mean, it can be logical, and I could see that. But if you imagine if a Vulcan is truly emotionless, you're just 2 steps away from being a sociopath. And why couldn't a sociopath, and obviously they do, why couldn't they get into criminal activities, or especially a crime boss? I'm sure many a real life mob boss is like a little sociopath inside to be able to compartmentalize everything, all their decisions and all the violence. So why not? I'm actually surprised it hasn't been done before. I feel like this is something they would have done like in Enterprise, like gone somewhere and randomly met a Vulcan gangster, and then Archer would have given T'Pol like the stink eye. But anyway, Yeah, I forgot about all their going back and forth, especially season 1 of Enterprise. Until I watched that episode earlier today. Anyway, back to Picard. Um, I mean, I don't feel like I need to go through all the minutia of the episode. Let's just say the Vulcan gangster Acevedo thinks he has the upper hand. We have, of course, a mobile emitter, a la the holographic doctor. I didn't notice it right away the first time, but upon rewatch, it's very obvious when Raffi is holographic Raffi. The whole duel with Worf. I mean, you knew Worf wasn't going to die.
Mm-hmm.
You hoped Raffi would die, but you knew it would. I'm just kidding. I wasn't hoping she was going to die. But I found it a little bit hard to believe that they would have a believable fight. Like, there's no way without Worf holding back. There's just no possible way.
Right.
And I was almost as surprised as the Vulcan when Worf appeared to die. I mean, I knew he wasn't going to die, but when he appeared to lose, I was like, okay.
Okay, well, now you know why that made sense, though, right? I mean, because I'm with you on that, but there's only one reason that it was believable to the bystanders. It's because they'd been practicing together. They had a rhythm. They knew what each other's moves are going to be.
Okay, I see what you're saying. I didn't
fight,
consider that.
Right, the fight looks more real to them around. So Worf did open himself up to be hit. It's just, he knew what she was going to do because they've practiced together so long.
I did not consider that. See, the fact that they were practicing at the beginning of the episode,
Yep.
all that said to me was obviously Worf is way better. That's the only message I received.
That's true.
But now you're saying it's like Ewan McGregor and Hayden Christensen doing all that practice in the gym so that they can show up and then do the final battle.
There you go.
I did not consider.
He knew what her move would be. I mean, they said, I know what your move is going to be because you're always impulsive. And she tried to take advantage of him, but he's just too good. In that scenario, he would let his guard down in a way that bystanders wouldn't know, but Raffi would, because she always takes the move. So I let him slide that because obviously, right, it makes no sense that she would have won against him. She can't beat him during practice, so it doesn't make any sense that would have actually happened in real life. But in that scenario, the bystanders would know they practiced together, and that worked. I was like, oh, okay, I see what they're doing here.
Well, there you go, man. Look at this. Look at all these. You're opening my eyes.
But they're giving something to work with, Eric. I mean, that's the thing. we have tried to make stuff in the past work with as best as we possibly could, and we were just rubber band and wet duct tape. It was just, I don't know, man. Let's go with that. They actually gave us this stuff to make sense out of this. So it's working. We're holding together.
Okay. So meanwhile, Picard and Ro, they've hashed it all out in the bar. And Ro, okay, you're really Picard. Okay. They're on the up and up. And then basically she decides, okay, we're going to end the investigation. She's essentially going to let them go because she knows it's for the good of Starfleet and the ongoing plot, which is fine. And so, she tells her escorts, all right, we're going back. They're like, what? And she's like, yeah, no, we're done here. Obviously, they don't like it. We know why. Wink, wink. But she gifts Picard her earring, which I was like, okay, yes, it's very special and personal, but I was still wondering what's that all about. But fair enough. And man, I don't even want to get closer to this moment. And also upon repeat, it still seemed. I mean, knowing how the episode played out and rewatching the episode, the fact that they took the shuttle in the first place was sus. When they came over the ship, as like, Sean, why don't they beam over? Yeah, why don't they beam over?
So that's it. Okay. All right. Now, once again, right? I could tell you they told us why. Ro says, I don't even trust my transport officers. She said that. So remember, Ro is by herself now. There's no one around her that she knows that she can trust.
Yeah.
She's very confident that they are looking for a reason to get rid of her. She can't go anywhere. And so she's got to get this message to, if this is actually Picard, which is the other thing she had to figure out, if this is actually Picard, I have to make sure that this is him, and I have to get this message to him. So, there would have likely been a transporter accident had she not done this, combined with the fact that they were trying to get over there to see Jack. This was her last chance to, in person, meet up with Picard, give him the information that they needed if she trusted that was
Oh man, you got it all.
But you see, this is what I'm talking about. If it makes sense, there's a depth to the way they're telling this story. And if they just put the pieces together, this is the really remarkable thing. I keep, coming back to this. There's a lot unsaid yet consistent with this season. Everything from the look between Beverly and Picard the first time she shows up on the bridge, and we don't know if Jack is his son or not. They don't say anything, but just the look. They are not hammering us with exposition and explanation. They have think about when Jack and Picard show up in 10-4 together. This place has great significance to me. Have you ever? No, they don't say it. There's a lot that's not being said that is still telling the story. It's still giving the context because they believe the audience is going to be able to put this stuff together, and they give us enough to put it together. This is good storytelling. This is well done. So that's why this stuff that even on rewatch you may not get it, but the pieces are actually still there, so that you can put stuff together and it's a meaningful, real, strong story. They're doing fantastic this season. We don't have to work this hard. It's actually all right there. So,
yeah, and it's crazy because, I'm rewatching these episodes for the podcast, but it's amazing how truly rewatchable this season is as a fan. Because how many times did you ever rewatch Discovery episodes?
No.
Or Picard season 1, 2?
Nope.
Yeah, me neither.
Nope.
Me neither. So the fact that this is like so rewatchable for so many different reasons. The Easter eggs is like the reason that's obvious in my head. But when you start bringing out this stuff about how things make sense in the plot, like I didn't even really realize all that stuff. So there's a lot of reasons. There's a lot of rewatchability with this particular season. Another weird thing that happened before we get to the what's coming. So Jack, when he's running around with his uniform, at one point he was about to disembark the ship. Like they're evacuating a lot of the Intrepid. Titan crew and transferring them over to the Intrepid. And at one point he's about to get on the transporter and go over into the Intrepid. But then he has one of his Stranger Things visions again as the other crewmen and women beam out. And he has that whole red tendril thing vision. Let me tell you what I thought was happening with that when I was watching it. I was starting to think that Jack was having almost like his visions were almost like a they live thing. Like he was like somehow seeing things that are unseeable by regular humans or other aliens. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And with the transporting scene in particular, what I thought was happening was that, we have these changelings from the Intrepid who we don't know who they are, and they're kind of pulling the strings from behind the scenes. I thought what Jack was witnessing was that the changeling Intrepid crew were just like beaming the Titan crew like into nothingness or into death or something. Mm-hmm. Like sort of like what happened in the motion picture when they try to beam up the Vulcan officer, mm-hmm. and the transporter has like its meltdown.
Yep.
I was thinking that the changelings were saying, "Oh yeah, we're beaming you guys to the Intrepid," but they're actually killing the crew. That's what I thought was happening.
Wow.
And I thought Jack was like able to see that the crew was like perishing, and I don't think, in hindsight, I don't think that was what's happening, but that's what I thought was happening.
Oh man, that'd have been rough if that's what was actually going on. Man, that would have been dark. if that's what was actually
I
happening.
really thought that's what was happening. It was freaking me out. And so that's why I thought he was like, oh no, never mind. Like, I'm good. I forgot something. But no, that's not the way it went, but that's what I was thinking. Okay. So like I said a little while ago, Rose is gonna go back to her ship. Her escorts aren't happy about it, but she's their commanding officer. So she gets back on her little shuttle. Oh man. And they're going back to the Intrepid. And then these changelings, they got like predator bombs or something.
Yeah. Yep. The same digits. Yeah.
Man, they put the predator bomb, they attach it to the floor, they immediately beam out and go back to the Titan. And I was like, oh no. And then, she contacts the bridge on the Titan. I think there's a bomb. My escort's left. And they're like, Picard or someone's like, beam her out. Oh, there's some type of field. No. Why? Oh no.
This was rough. I mean, like I said, the emotional roller coaster from the start of this episode when we first see Ro, the raw hatred and disdain that Picard has for her, to the basically the unrequited love, and I don't mean that romantically, but that they've had for each other. What's Han Solo says, I must have hit pretty close to the mark to get her all riled up like that, huh, kid? That emotion that was so strong between those two after all of these years meant that there was something there that needed to be resolved. And so to go from the distrust and the hate to the life-saving trust and love between them again, only to have her snatched away in a heroic gesture. This is within like a 30-minute span of time that we hit all of these things. It was rough.
Oh my god! It was whose idea was this? Was this Vitalis? Was this Ensign Ro, the actress? Whose idea was this? Because was this a situation like Leonard Nimoy? Because Leonard Nimoy did not want to come back for the motion picture. Like, he was done with Star Trek. Apparently, they threw enough money at him to get him in the motion picture, and then of course he still didn't want to come back for Wrath of Khan. So he's supposedly, urban legend, the only reason he agreed to come back for Wrath of Khan is he said, you got to kill me. You got to kill me and I'll come back. Is that what happened with the negotiations?
Well, it's clear.
Or is it just Vitalis is like, oh, this is going to get him good, meaning the audience?
I don't know what the deal is, but we will simply say that there have been plenty of opportunities for Ro to have come back if she was dying to get back on Star Trek. I think she recognized that, I think this was a swan song, a way to in a solid way close the book respectfully on the character that was Ro, and it was just a one and done. But we all wanted to see more of her. We all wanted to see more.
Oh my gosh. So, and oh my god, for the Best Picture podcast, my other podcast I do with Sean, just last night we did 1968 Romeo and Juliet, and so that's fresh in my mind. Like from the play or the movie, I feel like Romeo. I don't want to tell the whole story of Romeo and Juliet, but Romeo just got married in secret to Juliet, and he's like so happy about it, and it's great. But then the next day, he gets in a fight with Juliet's cousin, like a duel on the street, and Romeo inadvertently ends up killing the cousin. The day after he marries Juliet, he inadvertently kills her cousin, and after he kills her cousin, he gives one of his famous lines from the play, and he just says something. I'll paraphrase, but he was like, "Oh, I am fortune's fool," because he was so happy 10 minutes ago in the movie, 10 minutes prior, because he's just like walking down the street, like, I just got married. This is oh man, I'm gonna go tell my friends, and then he kills his bride's cousin, and he's just like, oh no, that's how I felt. I am Fortune's fool. I finally got what I wanted.
Snatched away at the end. That's I gotta be honest. I was wondering where you were going with this, Eric. But that is good. That is good. Fortune, we all were Fortune's fool. Eric, it was, like I said, it was in half an hour of it. Again, my point is there have been characters in some of these modern Trek episodes, multiple episodes where we've seen them. We don't know their names. We don't really care about their history. Rose back half an hour, takes us on this emotional journey, snatched away. I mean, they are killing us this season. They are killing us.
Like, this is one of the first, I mean, besides some of the bangers I obviously like from Strange New Worlds, let's take that off the table for a second, because Strange New Worlds is its own unique thing in a weird way. It's another conversation for another day. But take that off the table for a second. Up to this point, this has to be the most memorable episode of Trek that has come out of the CBS All Access Paramount Plus era. Has to be. Oh my God. Ugh.
Everybody has been so missing row, and there's so much happening in this episode. I mean,
it's so daring. It's so like in Discovery. I hate to cast shade on that too, like as if it's the Raffi series. But I mean, like throughout Discovery, certain characters come and go, certain characters die, this and that. But I know there's some people who are diehard Disco fans, and they're all invested in those new characters. Like, I could never feel this way watching Discovery.
On one hand, it's not fair to compare because, like I said, and as part of my setup with this, we've known Ro for 30 years.
Yeah, you're right.
And we have had, as fans, a connection to this character in a way that is very difficult. Would be impossible to recreate in such a short amount of time.
Oh, you're so right.
However, that being said, we still have been able to feel things for some of the newer characters, like Jack, like Shaw. So they've started to figure out how to do it. But, like you said, I didn't want to cast, shade, and we don't have to go here again. But if you go back to Discovery, there were episodes where characters had been in the background episode after episode after episode. And then this one episode, they tried to give us a history, try to connect us to the character, and then kill her off.
Man, that cyborg who I never learned the name of.
And that was supposed to have had an emotional, resonance with us. They even gave her like a Spock funeral. And I'm just like, we've known her like one episode. You didn't give us a chance to connect with her at all. This is the total opposite of this. They are giving us characters and a depth to those characters that's meaningful and that's resonant. And you're so
right. You're so right. You reminded me of something I've been doing on my side on the side for like about the last year or so, which is I have become addicted to YouTube reaction videos, and the setup is usually it's either someone who's millennial age or Gen Z ish, and they're watching like a classic 80s movie or something for their first time.
Right.
And they just react to it. And one of the movie reactions in particular I've watched numerous times with different reactors in the last 3-4 months is I've been watching these reaction videos specifically and particularly on Top Gun. And so these 25-year-olds, they watch the original Top Gun and they're like, oh yeah, that was really good. Oh, it's a really good 80s movie. I didn't think I was gonna like it. Yeah. And then they watch Top Gun Maverick. And I don't know if you've seen Top Gun Maverick.
I have.
Okay, because I don't want to spoil it for some crazy people who haven't seen it yet. But anyway, so then these 25-year-olds then watch Maverick for the first time. And when they see some of the relations that happen, stuff with the Iceman, Son of Goose, and they react and they go, "Wow, like that was really powerful." Now they just watched Top Gun like the day before, like in their world, and they're like, "Wow, I'm crying here. I just watched Top Gun for the first time yesterday," and then they'll say, "And wow, what about y'all who saw Top Gun in the '80s? I can't imagine how this makes you feel." And I'm just like, "Oh my God, you don't even know. You don't even know those impactful callbacks."
Yeah.
And again, we're talking about another 35, 40-year span. And it's, oh my, you're right, young person. And so if you are that 25-year-old fan of Discovery, now I'm imagining them watching this episode and going, okay, I can tell this is an important character from back in the day, but okay, so I can imagine just kind of going, okay, I'm just going to go along with this because I don't know who this Roe person is. But you're so right. When there's like 30 years of, oh man, it's so much to take in.
Yeah. And you know, I mean, again, I just got to point out, it's too easy to recycle the characters from the past in a shallow, superficial way. They just, kind of jam them in there to, for the sake of fans, or try to get eyeballs on the episode. They were respectful of the characters, the emotions shared between the characters, and how fans felt about it. It's not just a cameo. This was integral to the story, and this was a powerful component to bookend a character that we have all known and loved. So, I mean, it's just amazing. It's so rare that people do this and do this right. And it was beautiful. It was beautiful.
Oh man.
So, of course, there is the heroic scene where, her predator bomb is going off, and, and she takes out part of the nacelle. And now we're back at Shaw. Right? Because Shaw, he's got his ship back. He's thinking that Captain Riker, Captain Riker and Admiral Picard are going to finally be out of his life. That all of this is resolved. And remember, just moments before, this is when they show up on this bridge, and Picard's like, "Shaw, we got to get out of here. This situation is out of control." And he's like, "Security." He's literally calling security on the boys. It's like, "No, I'm done with this. This is over. And then, like all the new kids, all the folks that don't know Ro, she's just gone now. And now here we go. He's just starting to see the significance of her. I mean, not just Picard, Shaw in this book. He's got to change. He's got to decide now whether he's going to take on the criminality, insanity that he's been dogging Picard and Riker about this whole time. The whole time, you guys are always breaking the rules. You guys are stealing ships. You're always crashing and causing trouble and damage. And here he is in this moment, confronted with, he's got to do the exact same thing. He's like, "Oh no." It's delicious. I mean, that is just a beautiful tension that we got. Shaw, he's growing. He's growing as a character in this one season. Now he is a rebel he's a fugitive of Starfleet, running with the very same two that he gave such a crap about the whole time. So, well done. Yes, welcome, Shaw. You are one of us now.
Oh man, yeah, it's like Michael Corleone in Godfather 3. Just when I get out, they pull me back in.
Back in. Yes.
Yeah, you're right. It's so delicious because I mean, he already had to like relent when they were going against Vadic in the Nebula, and then now he's just like, "Oh shit, this is for real."
It's his call because he's the captain. They don't have authority on the ship anymore. It's his call to do this or not. And right in front of him, he sees, the shuttlecraft slam into the other ship. The ship's turning, is lighting up and heading towards him. Shaw has got to make the big decision. The big decision. So, oh, by the way, I just did want to. Your scene was so vivid about Jack and the transporter scene. I just wanted to point out that, in my opinion, that was where
I formed my theory that Jack is trying to restrain something about his reaction to being around Starfleet officers, because he's already had that sensitivity. And when he's on that transporter and they're about to beam him over to another Starfleet ship, not only is it just another Starfleet ship, it's a Starfleet ship full of other Starfleet officers, not just the ones from Titan. It's Titan and I think he was running because he did not want to be put in that place where he would be around so many Starfleet officers. I think that is what is going on there. It's not that he's afraid of being persecuted or prosecuted for his Robin Hood criminality. His dreams have been about taking out Starfleet officers. And I think he is, don't put me in that uniform, even though, by the way, that's the same gag they pulled with Book on Discovery, trying to hide him by putting him in Starfleet uniform. Anyway, let that go. I think in this situation, he is trying to resist being around Starfleet officers because of something that is probably in him. I'm thinking that. So when I saw the transporter scene and his reaction to being around more Starfleet officers, that was my vibe. That was what was going on there.
And then speaking of Jack for a second or more, so what is the deal? Okay, we still don't know why Vadic and the Changelings wanted him so bad in the very first place since episode 1. That certainly has not been revealed yet. Why he's so important. You would think it has something to do with his connection to Picard, his biological father, but even still, we still don't know exactly how or why. And then he's having these visions. He has his John Wick moment.
Nice.
Where he takes out the changelings that
Horrible.
he says that he didn't even realize were changelings at the time. So what is the angle? Is he like some type of Manchurian candidate? And even if he is some type of, assassin with deep-seated programming that they're not conscious of, even if that is the case, is he a Manchurian candidate against Starfleet or a Manchurian candidate towards the changelings? I don't know. I have no idea. Or is that even the angle? Yeah. I don't know that either. But this is it seems like the obvious thing that jumps out of my mind at first after seeing these visions for the first time. But I don't know. I don't know.
The questions are going on because, like I said, we still don't even know if it is just pure changelings behind this, right? Like I said,
yes.
Flaming skull, and we don't know what the heck that was. So who knows?
Because it seems obvious that that's some changeling elder, but was it a different species just being seen through a changeling communication device or method? I don't know. And also, I'm still not even sure about the helms people, the crewmen on the whatever Vadic ship is called.
Yeah.
Scythe, I think it is.
Yeah.
Are they at first I assumed they were changelings, but it seems like they're distinct alien species.
Yeah.
And not even all the same species themselves.
We can't tell. I don't know. But I don't recall changelings having a distinct language the way that those aliens are supposed to have them. So,
right.
Whenever we see changelings, I don't remember them, clicking and and speaking that way.
Right. So I guess there's just some other unknown Gamma Quadrant species,
I suppose,
who are doing the bidding of their
know.
Leaders.
Yeah.
So yeah,
space henchmen.
And then I was also wondering why once it's revealed Vadic is a changeling herself,
which is still sort of an assumption because it doesn't necessarily mean that she's a changeling herself. She could be, guarded by one living on her hand, possessed by one.
Okay, I was gonna say that's the only way you could couch this if it's like the thing from the Addams Family is like a separate organism from her.
It's a trill, slime on her, or something like that.
Oh my god, it sounds unlikely to me, But if it were true, oh man, that's diabolical. That is
Mhm.
diabolical.
Yeah.
Like to throw you off the set. Because I was about to say, yeah, she seems like a changeling, but then I was like thinking, if she is a changeling, why does she have to keep up? Like, why does she got to stay in that form
Exactly.
when she's doing ship business?
We've seen no evidence that she's taken any other shape. So that might just be her minder that, when you join the changeling mob, you have to give your hand, and now they're bonded to you, or at least their slime computers are bonded to you, or something like that. So
Now I'm thinking about the Evil Dead.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, you got to take that
Oh
chainsaw
man.
earlier. Take the chainsaw early to it. Yeah, that really is.
Well, I think we've covered most of the important bases on this particular episode, unless you have anything else to add.
I think that's everything. I'm surprised Picard didn't get the earring spycraft, though. Come on, that dude's been around. He should have known that it was more than just.
Oh yeah, I mean, it seems so obvious when it was because I wasn't thinking it either, obviously. But then when Riker, was like, "Oh, come on, I know what this is," and I was like, "Oh, yeah, that makes sense."
Yep. Which,
Like I said, I was wondering why is she giving him like her earring? Is she like saying I'm releasing my old me?
Mhm.
I was trying to think of like the symbolism.
I had that too. But this also reinforces the importance of going in person. She couldn't transmit that stuff. It could be intercepted.
Oh my god! So it's like the stolen plans in Rogue One.
You got it. You got it.
Oh man,
So
man.
it just makes sense.
I never thought I would need Cliff Notes to get through New Trek.
Yeah, they're doing it right.
Hey, you have opened my eyes so much. I can't believe how much I miss. That's
Mhm.
not like me.
Well, there's a lot happening. There's layers. I mean, we're trying to name all this stuff. One last thing, and then we can wrap it up for
Sure.
this one, which is, of course, the scene where after they have hacked into Rose's earring, the transmission comes in. And then at long last, we see the connection. The spies on the planet is Worf, and he, calls back home, and here's Riker and Picard, and everybody, it's all the boys are together again. But once again, they're happy to see each other. It's, wow, this is great. And then the moment where Worf is, where's Commander Rowe? You didn't have to say anything more. The scene didn't have to go beyond that. Once again, in just a few words, without exposition, they carried an emotional punch. They told an important story. That's all they had to do, So, in one moment, the boys are back together. Just a second later, where's Commander Rowe? So, yeah.
Yeah, and man, like I did not see that coming either. I'm talking about the fact that Roe was the handler. Like, because again, episodes ago in the podcast, I was saying, I don't know, is this an AI? Is it actually the baddies who are sending them on these like false quests?
Well, remember at that time it was Worf. So when we were having this conversation, the handler was Worf talking to Rocky.
Oh yes, you're right.
And then later, now I put it together because she says at the beginning of this episode, I've got agents or something getting to the bottom of this right now. I was like, oh, okay, now. But that was the soonest that I figured out, what was going on. We didn't know where Roe was. We didn't know. But yes, early in this episode, she says something to the effect of, I've got there's only 2 agents that I can trust who are looking into this right now. I was like, I know those agents. I know who it is.
Yeah, and man, and then so once we know it's Roe, it's like, oh god, that just makes so much sense. Now, didn't see it coming, and then we had talked previously, we had said, I don't know if it was with you or Caleb, I think it was you. At some point, how are we going to get Worf to meet Picard? How are they going to come together? And it's like, there it is. It's so perfect. It's so perfect. And not to belabor a tired horse, but going back to season 2 Picard, when we were going episode by episode, aside from some certain plot points, for the most part, I was like, did you really plan this out? This arc for this season? I mean, yeah, they planned out the whole what's her name to be board queen. I get that, but with the individual happenings, like in Los Angeles, etc., it didn't come. It didn't
It
mesh.
didn't seem like they were thinking through. Right. Yep. That's the beauty of this. I'm always yelling consistency. Someone wrote this world. The pieces ought to be able to fit together. So there's a way to put a story together where the pieces fit so tightly it's boring. There's a way to where a person puts the story together in a way that none of the facts make any sense and it breaks up the story. You have to have a balance between those things, and if you get the balance just right, it makes for an exciting, a surprising set of reveals and things.
Yeah, and the new thought I just had now after on this discussion. If you've ever heard me, I know other listeners have heard me on Mostly Harmless Cutaway with Doctor Who. This is like the series 5 of Doctor Who, this Picard season 3. Because I've said 1,000 times on Mostly Harmless Cutaway. Series 5 was just this series of Doctor Who, New Who that just made sense. Like all the parts fit together. These episodes, they seem standalone, but then you learn at the end there was a connection the whole time, and you realize that the showrunner knew what he was doing from start to finish. Like most of the loose ends get wrapped up eventually, and this is the series 5 of Doctor Who, except for Star Trek, Picard.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Crazy. I never would. Woo! All right. Let's go ahead and get out of here, I think. What do we... Oh, how many out of 5 Bajoran earrings are you going to give this episode? Yeah.
This one...
Go ahead, Carl.
Ooh, I'm going to give it a solid 4. 4.25.
Wow! You gave the last one 4.5.
Yes, because in my opinion, there was more multi-dimensional stuff that's going on. This one is about Picard and Ro. That is, and it's beautiful as that is, and as powerful as that is, that's one strong band that is through this. That episode had space battles, it had explosion tension, it had engineering, it had emotion between Picard and the Sun. It was just multi-dimensional stuff that was going on. Just as strong here, but it was just a little bit more focused. It was a little more singular here. It's difficult to pull it off when you got a bunch of moving pieces. Here it was simple, it was clean, it was between fewer characters, but still wonderful, so that's my 4.
Man, okay, I'm torn between 2 ratings, but I think I'm gonna give it a 5. Weird. Maybe it should be a 4.5, but for me, I think I'm gonna give it a 5 though, because it's not really perfect, but the power of seeing Ro again somehow pushes it up to a 5 for me, even though it's not an all-around perfect episode, and whatever that means, theoretical. But I just think because when I was watching it the first time, and once, especially when Ro was revealed to be in the episode, I was on the edge of my seat, and I had that feeling of I don't want this episode to end. And I like when that happens, I'm afraid to even pause or check the counter, because I'm afraid that if I check, it's going to say 2 minutes left. I'm going to be like, no! So I won't even look at it. and I'll just don't end yet. And so I'm going to give it a 5 for an imperfect episode. And I don't remember if I gave maybe 1.5 to A Strange New Worlds episode. I can't recall. But certainly not for anything else in New Trek did I give anything a 5.
Yeah.
So here it is. There it is.
It's a fantastic episode. It's incredible.
It's just, yeah. Oh, yeah. We've said it all. Woo! So, what is going to happen next time? That's 5 episodes down, 5 to go in this 10-episode season. Woo! Hold on to your potatoes, Dr. Jones. So, closing out the show today, this is Eric.
And this is Carl. And until next time,
Let's get out of here.
Beware Romulans bearing gifts.
I think that was like Shaw's, like, that was his engage in this episode.
okay.
I was like, oh, there's his catchphrase. When they're telling, like, we got to get, let's boogie before the Intrepid gets on us, and his command is to the helmsman is let's get out of here. So
no.
I think that's Shaw's engage until otherwise changed.
Nice.
I just want to say, because my Paramount Plus, after that episode played, it automatically went to the last Strange New Worlds episode I was rewatching, and it was the finale, of course. And I was just noticing when Pike was talking to alternate future Spock, because I was just looking at Spock's hair while we were podcasting, and there's actually just like one or two or three, individual hair follicles that are gray, but like literally three hair follicles.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, that's not his real hair. I mean, because it's got the whole bowl cut. This is a wig.
Yeah.
Are you telling me that to show that Spock had moderately aged just a tiny bit, they actually grayed out three individual hairs in that wig? That's crazy.
Well, that's Vulcans. They age differently.
Oh, I understand that, but I mean the attention to detail.
Oh yeah.
Who's gonna say? We understand like gray patches, but literally like three follicles. Like, did the costume department literally plan that? Like,
people noticed. You noticed. So whether they consciously or subconsciously note it, it's there. It's there.
Yeah. So I just thought that was crazy. That was wild. All right. Phew, man, it's been a pleasure. I meant to say, I was going to say in the next episode, I am always happy to guest on the Carl Show. Because especially when it's just the two of us, I don't even feel like I'm the host of any podcast anymore. I'm just like on for the ride.
I just point out the exciting stuff. I mean, look, we've been through some stuff, man. These modern treks have not been on the game. And so to come from a joyful place when it comes to Star Trek is an exciting thing. Because like I said, I mean, it was just raw dread. When we were getting toward the end of last season of Picard, it was just ridiculous. It was like, what are they doing?
Has anything in Star Trek or even in like Doctor Who, whatever, has anything ever gone from such a low to such a high, like back to back? Has that ever happened?
Not this fast. Not that I can recall. I mean, you keep bringing up the point that I refuse to hold in my brain, which is that, this stuff was shot really back to back. I can't even hold that in my brain.
I mean, they must have just been like, all right, here's your scripts, for the next season that we're going to start shooting. And they must have just been like, wait a second. Who wrote this? What's going on?
I know all of the actors. Everybody's like, this. What happened? Is it different color font? I don't know what's going on here. I don't know. I cannot recall a shift like this. Not this fast. I mean, I can think of a couple of seasons of Trek where like Voyager was kind of doing weird things and then it came back, but not to this degree. Not to this degree.
The only thing I can think of is if you go like from movie to movie and you go from like Voyage Home to Final Frontier, but obviously there's like years of gap in between.
Yep.
That's the closest thing I can come up with from going from good to bad or bad to good.
Yeah.
And let me just tell you one more thing that I'll bring it up again whenever we record episode 6. But now that we're 6 episodes in, that all this foreshadowing has been in the closing credits this whole time.
Yeah. Right. Yes.
Right. Mm-hmm. And by episode 6, I think all the Easter eggs have been revealed, except for there's only 1 or 2 mystery things left in the closing credits that are yet to be discovered. Mm-hmm. But everything else, I think, has already happened by episode 6. And the one that I just got while we were talking, because I was watching the closing credits, the musical notes, those have been bothering me since episode 2. And I can read music because I was in band back in the day, but I'm not like a virtuoso. Like I can't read it and hear it in my brain, just by sight reading. So it came up while we were podcasting, and I was just looking at the music, and I was like, "Of course it is."
Yeah.
Because now that I know what tune I'm supposed to be thinking, I see the music. It is what it is. You already know what it is, right?
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah, the musical notes are da 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 da. It's right there, man. It's right there.
Another character I have been looking forward to seeing. So yeah, we'll talk about it. We will talk about it.
Man, I really look forward to it. Like this was you took it a step further because the show took it a step further by revealing all these plot points and mechanics that I just completely skipped over because I was enthralled with Ro and this and that. So
I'm just glad we have something to work with. I'm serious. It's supposed to be fun. It's supposed to be enjoyable.
It's an embarrassment of riches now.
Yes, it's ridiculous. It's just so much happening.